I tried a different way of doing things, and it didn't really work out great. Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to the penultimate video in my OpenTTD Series 6 series Let's Play thing. Penultimate, if you don't know, means the one before the last. So next episode will be the last in this series, but fear not, Series 10 is just around the corner from the end of this one. Thank you very much to everybody who's given their thoughts, ideas and suggestions about what we should be doing next time. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a fantastic one. Now here we are going to be looking at what I've done. So we're going to be summarising what's here, looking at the good, the bad, the ugly of my rail network, as well as all the other different aspects of it. Next time we will be looking at your saves. So a few of you have completed the game. You've got up to the year 2050. You've gone through that and you've got your fantastic networks. So look forward to that. I think it's going to be released on the very last day of the year, so that'll be something good to do, to watch before you go to your New Year's Eve party. But today we're going to be looking at this, our network and what I have done. So I think it might be appropriate to first go through each of the challenges, because this was a quad challenge, and as a couple of viewers have pointed out, there's been some other challenges along the way. Let's just start up in the Highlands of Scotland. So here we go, we are in the Highlands of Scotland, or we're in various different parts of Scotland, the Lowlands and Highlands. If we go over to Inverness, we can see that this relatively small place when we started off has grown to 32,000 people. And it looks, if we just hide some of the road here, yep, our highway is still nice and neatly connected after I've purchased the land around the end of it there. And it looks like we do have the odd road vehicles still running. I'm not exactly... Oh, they're going between the different places within Inverness. Okay. It does look like I did decommission the vehicles on the highway challenge. Could I have done something better? I'm not sure. I think like a straight line highway up the middle was a good thing. The tunnels and bridges that I built, I was really quite happy with that. However, it's not the most creative of answers to the challenge of going from one part to the other. Glasgow grew pretty huge, and that's without me even trying to do it. We've got only 3 stations here, and then connected it up to Edinburgh too with this secondary junction. So I actually did do some relatively interesting road junctions. Whether they're the most appropriate or not, I'm not sure, but I did enjoy making them. So for the Highland Challenge, yes, I did what it asked for. And yes, I did expand it a bit by having an extra highway down here. But I don't think I was that creative with it. And I feel like I could have done more to make this particular challenge more exciting. However, I do think it was a difficult one to make something exciting out of. Perhaps visiting some of these other towns along the way and growing them would have been a good idea. The only thing is I'd have had to have started that really early on in the game. I would have had to have come into the game and started growing these towns quite early so that they were big like this one, and make it worth travelling around. So that is something that that I could have done, bringing in some of these extra towns along the side. But yeah, what would I score myself for the Highland Highway Challenge? I would give myself 6 out of 10 for that one. I completed the challenge. I did expand a little bit in somewhat part of it. What I did was quite nice, but it wasn't particularly creative and it wasn't particularly stupendous. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. What is your score for me on the Highland Challenge? Now, I'm going to ask for other scores, so maybe jot that down and get it all in one comment a little later on in the video. So, after that challenge, we then have, let's go have a look at, of course, the Whole Beach Factory Challenge. This one was one of my favourites in this one, and I liked it because it required various different elements in order to succeed and do quite well. Obviously, the two biggest challenges is getting things in and out of the factory. Pretty straightforward, you would have thought, but you've got to be careful. We have actually managed to get up to around 13,000 crates of goods, which I'm not sure, but I think is the highest I've ever done in an unmodded series. But getting these things all supplied in and pumping that factory with lots of good resources so that you can then get the stuff out is quite difficult. We're actually only transporting 77% of the goods from the factory, which is not good. That is actually a little bit low, and we're taking it away from this in this goods shuttle place, and the ratings here is 77%. I would like to have seen those ratings go even higher. I think one of the problems is that I was using ships to do that, and there's a lot of advantages to using ships, but one of the problems is they're really slow, and I think one of the things that scores your rating is something to do with the max speed or something of it. I can't remember all of the different calculations that the game does. It's on the wiki if you're interested, and I believe I covered it in one of my tutorials about industry production. But yes, 77%, not the best. I definitely could have done better there. This goods shuttle to get things out is like pretty much the max station you could have. We've got really long platforms, really wide. I mean, I could have done it so that there was two different outputs, but I'm not sure whether that would have helped or not. I know that the industries do actually spread their goods out to the best two. So I could have doubled that, but doing that would have made it difficult to get other things in as well. So the East Inn, this station here, some of you pointed out that this was the world's worst spaghetti of railway lines. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. It was one of those ones that I did without thinking about how I was going to do it, and just kind of worked it out as I went along. And instead of refining and improving it, I just left it. So that was an interesting one to do. I know a lot of people, when they started the challenge, the Whole Beach factory even closed down for some of you, and you had to actually put that one back in. And I was kind of aware of that in the early stages of the game. So you've got to make sure that you're supplying Whole Beach factory from the very beginning. So I think I've done quite well. Again, not brilliantly. You could get more out of this, and this percent transported is not great. Maybe I should have used the goods shuttle to help bring things in from further out, and then have the closer stations as the ones that pulled all the goods away, and taking it in multiple directions. Maybe not quite as far, because taking it all the way down to London means that you've got longer tracks with more chance of trains breaking down on the way. I don't know. It just seems like... But then again, it's one of the best money makers. If we go into the trains, open the trains up and group by shared orders and sort by total profit, in September. Let's do last year. There we go. You can see that the top service here was this one with these goods trains. And that's actually train number 1. Doing the London goods service. So these ones made us the most amount of income into... It says profit, but it doesn't take into account the infrastructure. And we'll get onto infrastructure in a little while. But yes, the coal service. Oh, bi-directional coal. We'll have to check that out later. But yeah, certainly this service of taking the goods out was a good money maker. So in terms of making money, it was good to have the goods go that far. If you look at the cargo payment rates... where's it gone? The cargo payment rates, and we spread this out. You can see that if we just flash that one there, goods is second to top, so it's only second to valuables, and valuables you don't really get the quantities you do with goods, so goods was most certainly one of the goods things to do. As for scoring this one, I feel that I done some things right and some things not. East Inn is a complete mess, and this factory that was down here is gone now, so I could actually rebuild it how I wanted it to, rather than cramming it in how it is. Although this concept of putting platforms in the other orientation in front of the other platforms, I think if that was refined, that could actually be a really good thing. You could get a lot of platforms out of this, which would be good for getting more trains through. Okay, so there's a lot of good things about it. We've got a really nice steel run in here. That is, you know, it seemed really efficient. We've got 4 lanes all running quite nicely, bringing steel over, and it's not really backing up. The only place it backed up for a little while was where it was waiting for more things to get loaded. So overall, I'm going to give myself maybe a 8 out of 10. Maybe I'm being a bit generous there. What do you think? Get your comments ready for the video. The use of ships was definitely a good idea, but I should have used the ships to bring the goods in, not out, because the ships are slow, and that hurt the ratings, and that was a big mistake. That's the biggest mistake I've made so far. I could have done better with that, a lot better. If I'd have swapped that round, maybe we'd have been looking at a higher score. Okay, let's now run all the way over to Exeter. So, Exeter, the City Growing Challenge. This was a relatively straightforward one. There are really only 2 things you can do in the vanilla game to get a city to grow. Okay, so what you need is 3 stations, each receiving and getting picked up a piece of cargo within, I think it's 3 months, or it might be a month. I can't remember off the top of my head now. Again, I've got a tutorial about it, so if you want to know about city growing in the vanilla game, go check it out. And that's it. Once you've got those 5 stations down and you've got cargo moving in and out of them, the city will grow. There's only one other thing you can really do, and that is to fund new buildings. Doing so does grow. So I suppose there are. Right, there's other things you can do to help as well, like improving and growing the road layout. So if you build the roads for a city, the city won't spend time and effort growing the roads. It will just put buildings down, so the city will grow quicker too. And maybe flattening land helps that, I'm not sure or not. So they're all the ways. It's pretty straightforward. Get your stations in, get your vehicles in. Keep, as long as you've got the money, keep spamming that grow buildings button and build out the roads for the city, and that's it. Job's done. And I think for this one I did really bad. I'm going to give myself 4 out of 10 for this one, because even though it's pretty straightforward and I know how to do it, I still did a pretty bad job of it. I feel like I could have done much better. I was a little bit too late to the game at Exeter. I should have had buses and stuff in there earlier. I should have been making money sooner, and I should have been spamming those buildings out there every, I think it's 2 months is the best way to do it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I don't think I did very well on this one. I think I could have done much better. So never mind. Let's forget about that. Remember, maybe you want to give me a score for my Exeter city size. See, 75,000. If we compare that in the town directory, right? If we go in the town directory and sort by population, it's not even the biggest. It's not even the second biggest. It's not even the third biggest. It's the 4th biggest. I mean, right? London, that started off pretty big. And there's a lot of things going in and out of London. So it's going to get big, right? Peterborough wasn't that huge. But because I did some infrastructure around it and got some trains and vehicles moving, it grew. It grew a lot. A town that I wasn't trying to grow, that started relatively small, grew better than my Exeter. And Glasgow did really well as well, like I said earlier. So yes, my Exeter, I didn't do very good. Never mind. I'm going to call... You know what? I'm going to say I failed at that. For Exeter not to be in the top 3 of my city, I could have done much better. And that leads us on to the 4th challenge. The one that we did last episode. In some ways, I am really, really disappointed with this one. In other ways, I'm not. Okay, so there's some things with this that I think I did well, and there's some things I don't think I did too well at all. I do think it was really good that I built some land and put some towns on it relatively early on. This enabled me to grow those towns throughout the game, so they weren't all just tiny little towns. Imagine if I'd have come to this last episode, we wouldn't have been able to have this great big nice city right here. That just wouldn't have happened. But on the other hand, one medium to small size island, yeah, I'm not going to be winning any size contests with this one, am I? So I did well to get things out there and connected up quite early on ish, but the size is just terrible, and that is just down to money. My company was just not making enough money, and we'll talk more about what the money making side of things was and what bits were good and bad about that in just a moment. But having said that, with the money that I did have, I feel like I spent it well and did a good job. Having these towns on there, some of those industries, the nice aesthetic things, the shape of the island, the fact that we got some hills on it, I really like that. So if I was just judging it, completely forgetting about the size, I would give myself a 9.5 out of 10 for this. I really would. But considering that it is probably in the region of, well, 1/20th of the size that I was originally planning, I think I'm going to have to knock that score down by a couple. I don't think I deserve 9.5, 8.5, maybe 7.5 out of 10 for this. Even though I think the island itself looks nice, I think the size was not great. So kind of a pass, kind of a fail on that one. Let me know down in the comments what score you would give me for each of the challenges and why. I'd really love to know. And so that's the 4 main challenges, but like I said, there was kind of some other challenges. So playing with breakdowns turned on is normal by default. Okay, so breakdowns, vehicle breakdowns are normally set to reduced, and we've upped them to normal for this one. This was supposed to be a hard game. We upped the breakdowns, we enabled cargo distribution, we turned out on the infrastructure maintenance to make it more difficult to play, and I really did find it difficult. There was a couple of times where I was just struggling for money in the early episodes, and even when there was even an episode where I converted the whole thing to MacLeod and went broke, and we had to go back in time a little bit. So the challenge of the infrastructure was absolutely, well, if anything, it was interesting. To have that extra cost where you have to think, well, I'm going to build something, and if I'm going to build something, I'm going to have to use it. I'm going to have to utilize it. This piece of track has to make me money somehow. I can't just have a main line that I build and we'll put one train on it for now and maybe we'll use it more later. No. Everything had to have a value of some sort. And I really wasn't used to that. If I did another one like this now, I would approach things completely differently. I would be looking at getting as much down one line as possible to begin with. I'd be looking at utilizing certain things. But yeah, it was the infrastructure side of things was really nice to do for a change and great fun. Maybe we'll do a viewers game with infrastructure maintenance turned on. I don't think we've done that yet, if I can remember correctly. But that was really a good part of it. So that was about the infrastructure side of things, and I think there's some things that I got wrong and right when it comes to that. For example, like I upgraded the monorail to maglev over here. Whether that does make the profit or not, I'm not sure. One of the things I'm not too familiar with is the way that vehicles pay out when you're doing transfers. So when you do transfers, vehicles pay out in a weird way in OpenTTD. You don't get like, a train doesn't do a certain percent of the journey and then get that percent of the profit and then different bits. It's a little bit strange. Something I'm going to look into in the future so I understand better. But for example, here we have trains dropping off at the airport and the airport the airplanes flying over the sea, it's quite a long distance as well, all the way down to Holyhead Airport over here, where we had quite a lot of passengers still. Quite a lot of passengers. So I do need to understand transfers a little bit better and the way that money works with them. I've always understood things, some things as loss leaders. For example, is there a good example? Okay, so for example, these trucks here, these are collecting them from the farm and dropping the goods off at this train station. They're providing a little service, and they're not really making any money. In fact, if I pick a random truck, you can see, yeah, its profits in the negatives. But the fact that then we've got goods at this train station to move all the way down this line to where it needs to be, that's a good thing. That means our trains can make a lot of money potentially. I think these ones were just shuttling it to a nearby hub. Let's have a look. Yes, they were. But even still, the trains are still making 100 grand a year. So without those trucks, the trains would just be visiting one place. You would need a shuttle train. Maybe the trucks are better, maybe the trucks aren't. And that's what I mean by a lost leader. Like, I know the trucks are making terrible money, but they're providing a service so that a train can make a lot of money. And it's weighing those things up. And I think that's something that I can do better at in the future. Working out how to just get straight out better profit without as many lost leaders. For example, here, maybe I could have had the train station at one of the farms instead of in the mid. Oh, actually, no, it is at one of the farms. There we go. Look, it is just at one of the farms. Maybe we could try and place it between two farms or something. Maybe, like later on, down here, we started using trains to do these shuttle runs. And you can see there we've got a train here moving wood from one one forest, sorry, to another. And that train, again, it's not making money, but it's moving wood to a service that does make money. For example, these ones here, which is making nearly $1 million a year. So, you know, sometimes moving things together with stuff that doesn't make money is actually good. And I think I did a good thing about that. That is something that I did well. Something that I didn't do well with bringing things together is, this is a perfect example. This farm hub. I had too many farms coming into hubs. Doing hubs like this is good because you can bring the resources together and then take it down one track, reducing your infrastructure, take it down quite a distance and make some good money out of it. But when you connect up 1, 2, 3, 4, I think that's 5, 6 farms all to the same hub, that is probably too much for a single dual track line like this to be able to cope with. You're going to need a lot of trains to service all 6 of those farms, especially if they are farms that have been leveling up throughout the game. I mean, that one, just that one alone, is over 500 tons of grain and 500 items of livestock. Just one farm. And you've got to get all that stuff down this line. It's ridiculous. I mean, that one was terrible. That one was quite good. What's this one like? That one's medium, 198 tons of grain. So I definitely had too many farms going down this one line. The only other way I could have done it would have been to have more than one line. So instead of it being one track in each direction, we could have had 2 tracks in each direction, maybe even 3. And I think over long distances, maybe that's a good idea, but perhaps I should have just made these hubs smaller. They're too big and the trains just back up too much. There are ways to make the lines a little bit more efficient. I mean, most of my lines aren't the most efficient in all different ways. For example, this spaghetti, but it should be okay. And also the gains that you start to get diminishing returns on the improvements that you make to these designs. So you do a line like I've done, which is relatively efficient, and then you make these small tweaks which would actually make it a little bit better, but the little bit you're making it better is not massively better enough to be able to not need a second line. You can't just double the efficiency of a railway line that is of a relatively good design in the first place, even if you can make improvements. So I needed less things and more hubs is definitely something I should have done around there. So that was something I could definitely have done better. Learn from my mistakes. Something that I thought was going to be a massive mistake but didn't turn out to be was this coal stuff. So over down here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coal mines there, and we would have had 2 or 3 coal mines around here if we'd have carried on as well. This coal station is actually doing quite well, but it's not taking it far. Okay, so this pre-hub's not taking it far, and we've got good flow. And I switched it to maglev. Maglev trains move quicker, more trains through the line, better throughput. And doing this system where you've got long trains that travel long distances and they're taking goods in both directions seemed to work really well. So we've got a train coming down here towards the south drop-off, this one, and is full of coal. Okay, this one is actually heading to Coal Hub North Drop. So I don't know where that train's gone wrong, but that generally they do quite well. So they come to the south drop off, and then pick up and head over here and pick up some more. There we are. There's one that is actually heading up to the north drop. And then you go all this way up the country and do exactly the same thing. You drop off at a power station and you pick up more over here. Look, we got loads of coal, 7,000 tons of it. And if I can get some of the trains off this list, we can see that they all are making pretty good money. Some more than others because it's such a long journey that maybe they don't deliver very often. But if you look at this and we sort by profit this year, we can see that some of these are making 3 million last year. So they probably made a couple of trips. We've got some that aren't oh, that's this year. Last year. There we are, making 3.5 million last year. We've got some this year that haven't made anything yet, but that's just because they haven't delivered. It takes them a long time to do on their loop. So I will definitely be doing bi-directional long distance services in the future if I can help it. This naturally happens with passenger services at each end. For example, you've got 2 cities, they're really far away, you put a station at each end, you make a train go backwards and forwards, it's carrying passengers in both directions because towns naturally both give and accept passengers. But when it comes to other commodities like coal, the coal goes from a coal station to a power station. You then don't have coal going from the power station back to the coal station, and that's where these loops make more money. So I think with a bit of refinement, the idea of doing goods in both directions is a really good one. So the idea here was good, the execution wasn't perfect, but overall it made some good money. And we can actually look in the train list and see it was the second best thing in the train list for profit, total profit last year. We've got some of the passenger train services now, that's quite good. So this East Coast Main Line, I put it in there because I travel on the East Coast Main Line and I thought it might be nice. And you know what? It did make some money. With cargo distribution, it didn't make nowhere near as much as what I thought it would normally have. For example, we've got a train here leaving Peterborough, and you can have a look and it says it's got passengers from London North, from Stevenage, and then some mail from Peterborough itself as well. This train is full of various different people from various different stations going to different places, and all of those passengers from London North would have normally have got off at Stevenage, would have got our money and would have picked up some brand new passengers. But with cargo distribution, it makes it work like this. Do I like cargo distribution? I think I like the idea of cargo distribution. I like the idea that it is probably closer to real life than not cargo distribution, but at the end of the day it just makes it really difficult in this game to actually do anything. I actually had many lines I didn't connect up. I would loved to have had my stations in London all come together, so you can go down the East Coast Main Line, come across, go all the way to Exeter, and if you wanted to, swap the trains at Exeter and go all the way up to Edinburgh and link all that together. It would have been lovely to have that all interconnected. And you can interconnect the lines as long as you don't interconnect the services. But what's the point of interconnecting the services, the lines, if you're not going to do the services? So Yeah, cargo distribution, it's fun to play with in a kind of doing something different kind of way, but I don't think it really suits the game that well. Maybe I just need to learn how to play with it a little bit more and different ways of doing things. I tried a different way of doing things, and it didn't really work out great. So we had this special pickup and refinery system here where we had, and this is actually the same as the coal route. So I've just explained the whole coal route where it's bi-directional. This is the same. You come in with oil, you drop it off at the refinery, you pick some more oil up, you head back the other way. That part of the design, brilliant, works really well. The fact that it's over such a humongous distance wasn't the best. I mean, that doesn't really do it justice. It is so far and takes so long for the trains to travel on this journey. And we can see here that we've got, like, I think I stopped most of the trains by the looks of it. Oh no, they're just getting old. They're not stopped. The blue stopped, red is old. So all these trains are getting old. Some of them are making some good money. So like you can see, we sort by profit. We've got 1.5 million there. These are all making over $1 million. But we can flip the table, and some of these trains, they made their money last time, but not this. And whilst that may seem like, okay, you said the same at the coal, that there was some trains that wasn't making a lot of money. Overall here, I don't think it's that great. I mean, if you have a look at these ones compared to the coal trains, in the sorted by total profit last year, the coal trains come in at number 2. Bearing in mind there is 57 of them, and we have to go probably quite a way down the list. Here we go to whatever number that is, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's 11th spot where they're making 12 million a year. Like, roughly, is that a fifth? No, just over a quarter, I think, of the other trains. Now, bearing in mind there are only 19 of them. So it might well be that if we had more of those trains, it'd be okay. But I don't think that would be the case. We've got a good amount of oil here, but not a ridiculous amount of oil. If I tried to double or triple the amount of trains on this line, they'd have just been sat waiting around. Like, this station's got nothing at it. Okay, so I couldn't just put more trains on and make money out of it. It cost 600 million to build this line, and it must cost an absolute fortune in infrastructure maintenance for such a long maglev line. I'm sure that overall these trains probably aren't making the money. And I think part of the problem is the fact that we're using ships to deliver and move this cargo from the oil places. I mean, the ratings here are not great. I mean, I know it says very good, but 67% ratings is not good in this late of the game. 67% there. We've got another one here. Another one that's at 67%. The ratings aren't good, which means the production's not going to get great. Production's not going to get great. You're not going to be able to pump loads of things down this line. So if we had loads of oil and we could buy more trains, the initial investment and the cost of the maglev line would probably be worth it. You know, you could make this a profitable line if you had enough cargo flowing down it. And with the way it's set up, it isn't. This was an epic fail. The only way I think that this could have worked is if you linked up these with some trains, or got the trains to go to these different places. For example, you could use conditional orders, get the train to come in and down at Lower Dover here, and load up. If it wasn't full, go to Dover sidings. If it got full, you just had a track where it disappeared off north, and just get the trains to loop round and just pick up all the cargo and then go back up north. And I've got a feeling you'd probably make a lot more money like that, and it'd probably be quite profitable. But just dumping it in the sea like this, nope, not good at all. Well, there we go, folks. There are some things that I'm really happy with, like Corsham Interchange. In some ways was an epic failure because there's a massive amount of people there and it always got clogged up, and no matter what I did, there was just so many people there and I just failed to move everybody around. But this was such a fun experiment to do. It was so fun to play around with the trams, to move people backwards and forwards in that way, see how much you can get in one area and move things around with this cargo distribution. And from that side of things, because it was fun, I enjoyed doing it, and it was a different thing. You know, I'm glad I did it, and I'm happy that it's the way it went. Very happy with the way that went. There's even some of these towns that are out, you know, they're doing a little bit of growth here. We got some bigger buildings, probably because they've got this connection through the Corsham interchange there. I wonder if there's any sort of improvements to the game code or some scripts where moving people from different towns that are huge to smaller places makes those smaller places grow faster. So, for example, being connected right in the middle of London and Exeter could have an extra boost here. That'd be an interesting concept. So, whilst it wasn't technically successful as a project, I felt this was successful. I enjoyed doing it, and it was a great experiment. But overall, with the UK Challenge, that was kind of an experiment, because I'd never really done a proper challenge map like this before. I've had a particular scenario like we did in Season 5 where we had Let's Grow This City, but not have a large map with multiple challenges where I actively encouraged lots of people to come in and we checked out their networks and stuff. And to do this and build it like we have, and to do it as a community with the feedback I've been getting from you on the videos and all the conversations that's happened on the Discord. Go over to the Discord, by the way. This series has been an interesting experiment. Been doing settings like harder breakdowns, doing cargo distribution in a let's play like this, and also the infrastructure maintenance were all massive experiments. And overall, I think we can say that part, although my lines and railways and network wasn't the best, I think overall we can say that the whole series was a success in its experiment. It got a lot of people to do a lot of things in a lot of different ways, and it got me to learn a lot more about the game and the different ways you can play it with the different settings and the different challenges it can bring. And I'm sure some of you learnt that too alongside me. So I just want to say an extra special thank you to absolutely everybody who made this series what it is. Okay, so everybody who played along, everybody who commented, everybody who gave tips on the Discord and has interacted with this series in any way, you are all fantastic. It has been brilliant. But it's not over. Join me next time. We will be having a look at a couple of the final game saves. This one's mine. Let's see what the community came up with, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.